Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Kris. This is Random Morbid Facts Compilation. Disturbing and creepy facts that will leave you shocked part. I did another one that didn't have a part on it. Must have ran out of space. Oh, part 53. Anyways, before we start, if you can click that thumbs up, bare minimum, helps me out. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Click on the thanks button. Donate to the channel if you want to keep it running. All right, let's do this.
Morbid Facts, Part 567. When the 2-year-old daughter of Chelsea Camp was being mauled by a vicious pit bull, the Texas mother had to act fast. She jumped on the dog's back and bit off its ear before shoving her fist down its throat to save her little girl. Both suffered serious wounds from the dog, which belonged to Chelsea's boyfriend and was normally very friendly, but suddenly turned on the toddler. The pit bull was still attacking when police arrived and had to be euthanized. In 2007, a Rhode Island
In 2017, 2017, on Father's Day, my neighbor's pit bull attacked one of my Yorkie. Tried to went after both, but yeah, I jumped on it and started beating it, and they just stood there and watched. And then when I touched his dog after his dog attacked mine, then he had a problem. Unfortunately, I was never able to kill that dog. Wish I would have. There were 4 people. 3 of them were trying to have a fight with me. And of those 4, the one guy who I wish I would have killed, he died beginning of 18 on a drug overdose, January of 18. His fiance / wife, she died of, which I didn't have a problem with her. She died of cancer in October of 2020. And then in 21, the other one died of COVID. And then the last one, she's still alive. She was the granddaughter of all of them. She has tried to go through a third party to have peace, and I said that we could have peace after she hangs herself in front of her kids. Fuck her. Back to the video.
Hospital was fined $50,000 and reprimanded by the State Department of Health after brain surgeries were performed on the wrong side of the patient's head 3 separate times in the same year. During the mating process, dogs and other canines get stuck together for anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour. It's a natural physical mechanism called a copulatory tie where both of their genitalia interlock to ensure fertilization. The first time dogs mate, they're often surprised by this and show signs of distress while trying to pull away or run. A man from Vietnam had endured severe headaches for 5 months before finally going to the hospital. After a CT scan, the man and his doctors were shocked to find that a pair of chopsticks were lodged in his skull. It turned out that the man had been involved in a drunken fight 5 months prior that he barely remembered, and somehow ended up with chopsticks deep up his nose as a result. Violet Jessop was a ship nurse in the early 1900s who couldn't seem to avoid disaster. She was on the Titanic when it sank, the Britannic when it was struck by a torpedo, and the Olympic when it collided with another ship. Violet managed to survive all 3. Exactly 50 years
She's just unlucky.
after America was established, on July 4th, 1826, President John Adams' last words before passing were, "Thomas Jefferson survives." Little did he know, President Jefferson had died just a few hours earlier that same day. This woman adopted an elderly dog.
So Jefferson died first. He died in the morning-ish. I think it was like 10 or maybe before then. Adams. So Jefferson was the 3rd president. Adams was the 2nd. Adams died in the afternoon, dinner time-ish. And then number 5, James Monroe, he died that was 1826. He died in 1831, the 55th anniversary. And then the fourth president, James Madison, died in 1836, but he made it to June 28th. They were trying to give him stuff to hold him on to die also on the 4th of July, and he said no.
Dog because it looked exactly like her dog that ran away when she was a child. A microchip scan ended up confirming that it was her old dog. On New Year's Eve in 2011, a suicide bomber planned on blowing up Moscow's Red Square with a mobile phone bomb. But her plan failed miserably when the phone received a spam text wishing her a happy new year. This caused the bomb to detonate while she was still at the safe house, and she was the only person who died. Jill Dando was a highly acclaimed journalist who worked as a host for BBC's unsolved crime series Crime Watch. But the show was cancelled in 1999 after Dando herself became a victim of an unsolved murder. She was shot in the head while trying to enter her London home, and police never managed to identify her killer. In 2007, the Coble...
Wow. Wait a minute. Okay, I think I know this one.
family lost their 2 girls and 1 boy in a horrific car crash. A year later, the mother gave birth to triplets, 2 girls and 1 boy.
Yep.
In 2019, a young man named Tyler Moon was running in a Minneapolis marathon when he suddenly collapsed. Thankfully, he was wearing a bib that said Jesus saves, since the man behind him happened to be a nurse who performed CPR and saved his life. That man's first name was Jesus. In 1915, a distraught woman who was late to her sister's funeral demanded to see her one last time. So the coffin was raised from the ground, and when it was opened, the dead woman sat up and smiled. She went on to live for another 47 years. In the year 2000, pro wrestler Bam Bam Bigelow, who was known for his iconic Flames outfit and head tattoo, received second-degree burns over 40% of his body while rescuing 3 children from a house fire. He spent 10 days recovering in the hospital after saving their lives. In 2017,
I didn't know that. I remember old Bam Bam Bigelow.
9-foot-long alligator clamped onto the leg of 10-year-old Florida girl Juliana Osa. But luckily, she remembered a life-saving trick she recently learned at Gatorland theme park. She stuck her fingers up the gator's nose and it instantly released her leg and took off. For the first few years of his life...
I don't know why we allow gators and crocodiles to continue to live. No. Let's just put them all somewhere and then nuke that place. Problem solved.
Mason McDeed cried constantly from his issues with cerebral palsy. His parents struggled to find any way to comfort him until one day his dad put on some Metallica. Soon he noticed Mason had immediately stopped crying and fell asleep, which would work every time he played heavy metal music thereafter. Ever since this revelation, Mason has attended over 500 metal concerts with his dad. In 2015, 3-year-old Jair Sims was found dead in a park in Maryland while his mother was pushing him on a swing. It is believed that she pushed him on the swing for 45 hours straight, even in the rain. Romisha Sims, who is schizophrenic, had suffered from a psychotic breakdown while playing with her son at the park. By the time she woke up, her son had died as a result of hypothermia and dehydration. She was found legally insane and not criminally responsible for the tragedy of her son. In 2017, a woman named Glenna Durham killed her husband after shooting him 5 times. Soon afterwards, the couple's pet African gray parrot started repeating the words, "Don't effing shoot." It was assumed that these were the husband's last words, and the woman was eventually found guilty of first-degree murder.
I remember hearing about that one. This is BTK.
Serial killer Dennis Rader, aka the BTK Killer, used to install security systems for homeowners. Many of his clients wanted the security systems to keep the BTK Killer from ever entering their homes, unaware that he was the one installing them. In 2015, a man broke into a ranch in Nova Scotia and quite literally made himself at home. He fed the cats and horses, did laundry, took a shower, and used the homeowner's toothbrush. He even wrote in their diary and was watching TV on the couch when they came home. In 1989, 56-year-old Ole Benson laughed so uncontrollably while watching a fish called Wanda that he went into cardiac arrest. His heart rate reportedly spiked to over 300 beats per minute before he died at the movie theater. In 1814, a mass...
What? There had to be a little bit more to that story than him just laughing so hard he died.
A vat at a London brewery suddenly burst, sending 300,000 gallons of beer surging through the streets in a devastating flood. The torrent destroyed homes and claimed the lives of 8 people, including 5 mourners who were attending the wake of a little boy who had drowned just a day prior. One of those victims was the boy's mother, who was still holding her child's coffin when her body was found. A woman undergoing pancreatic surgery was accidentally set on fire after alcohol-based sanitizer met an electrical scalpel. Her body ignited in seconds, and she died from severe burns after doctors tried to put her out with a bucket of water.
What the hell?
In 2011, a 16-year-old girl from China had been dealing with chronic headaches for years and finally decided to get them checked out. Doctors were shocked to find a fully formed tumor containing hair, bone, and multiple teeth, likely the remnants of a parasitic twin inside of her skull. It had been pressing against her brain tissue, and the headache stopped upon its removal. In 2008, Peruvian archaeologists found a 1700-year-old mummified woman from the Wari Empire. The purpose of her creepy mask remains a mystery since the civilization never developed a written language. This Neolithic figurine found in southeastern Europe is known as the red-haired goddess. It's estimated to be over 7,000 years old. The grand staircase in the Palace of Knossos in Crete shows how crafty the ancient Minoans were when it came to architecture. This 2,300-year-old bronze Gaelic helmet was found by French archaeologists in 2004. Researchers are still unclear on what exactly it was designed for. In 1782,
Had to be a game of some sort. You're wearing the hat, and you throw the hat through the ring. You're wearing the hat, you throw the hat through the ring. You're wearing a hat with the rings on it, you throw something through it. That's all I could think of. Oh, what if that was for like bow and arrow practice? And you had to wear that and just stand there, and they had to fire the arrows through. It was like top, left, right. Oh, can you imagine that? And then there's stupid Dale. And everyone's just like, oh, don't give Dale the bow and arrow. Oh, man, that's got to suck.
researchers are still unclear on what exactly it was designed for. In 1782, Indian ruler Tipu Sultan hated the British so much that he commissioned for a mechanical toy of a tiger attacking a Brit. More than 200 years later, the tiger is still wounding him. The Pear of Anguish was a medieval torture device dating back to the 1600s. It was inserted into an orifice such as the mouth or love hole and slowly opened up, typically causing fatal internal bleeding. Here's a 1,500-year-old ceramic Mayan figurine with a removable helmet. This incredible 2,300-year-old Scythian woman's shoe was discovered in Siberian permafrost. Some speculate that the boot belonged to a high-ranking woman who didn't have to walk much. This piece of Queen Victoria's wedding cake has been preserved for nearly 200 years. The Swedish warship Vasa is easily the world's best preserved ship from the 17th century. In 1628, it sank less than a mile into its maiden voyage and was recovered 333 years later almost completely intact. In 1993, Canadian lawyer Gary Hoy claimed to a group of students that the windows in his building were unbreakable. To prove this, he threw himself at the window at full force. While the glass didn't break, the frame popped out and Gary fell 24 stories to his death. In cases of CP, someone has to actually watch the video from beginning to end so that they can testify about it in court. After his mother died in 2013, Arizona man Jim Stauffer donated her body for scientific research. He later found out that her corpse was sold to the US military for $6,000 and blown up at a bomb testing site. After being diagnosed with polio at age 3, Diane Odell spent nearly 60 years in a 750-pound iron lung. She only died when a power outage shut down the machine that had been keeping her alive for decades. These were just some of the wedding rings that were removed from victims of Buchenwald concentration camp during the Holocaust. In Houston, Texas, a 19-year-old man named Rashad died while attempting to play Russian roulette in front of his friends. But he apparently didn't know how the game worked since he tried using a semi-automatic pistol instead of a revolver. In 1985, a 13-year-old Colombian girl named Omaira Sanchez was trapped up to her waist in volcanic mud flow. Knowing there was no way to free her, volunteers and rescuers did their best to comfort her. She died after 60 hours, and her photo became iconic. A grieving mother from Florida added a sandbox to the gravesite of her baby boy so that his big brother could play with him. In order to keep Genghis Khan's burial a secret, all 2,000 people who attended his funeral were executed. The executioners were then killed by members of his escort, who eventually took their own lives once they reached their destination. 800 years later, Genghis Khan's burial site still remains undiscovered to this day. Morbid fact.
Okay. So that happened.
Morbid.
I mean, I knew about the Genghis Khan thing, but oh my goodness. That kid only made it 5 days. I remember that. That was sad. I think her foot was stuck on like a wall had collapsed or something. Russian roulette with a semi-automatic gun. Jesus, what are you doing, kid? What kind of life is that to have to live in the iron lung? No, thank you. All right. Well, we're going to end it here. Hope you enjoyed. Till next time, have a good day, have a good night.